Wee bit of a lag. There's the live button. All right. Oh, and then so it says going live. Okay, that's so weird. It looks different every
Okay.
time. Miss Linda, can you switch it around so that we are in portrait or
Yes,
not portrait, but
yes.
speaker view?
They cannot look at my confused look as I see something else pop up.
It's all good. It looks like we are live. So this is great. Thank you everyone for showing up today at Third Eye Salon. We are so very happy that you are here. And it's just going to be a great show. I'm so happy today because we just have, I love Sue Walker. She is our guest, and we're just so happy that she's here. So let me do the official intros here. Welcome to Third Eye Salon, where each and every show we take a fresh look between the veils of reality. And today we're looking between the veils of earth changes and as well as disclosure, specifically from the vantage point of the Pnti, the Zeta Reticulans from the planet Pontel that are hanging out on the planet and just being these living love bombs and helping everything get smoother and go better and preparing for so many of the changes that are on our plate as our graduation from knuckle draggers to interdimensional beings. That's how I see it. So let's look and see who's in the salon today. Of course, it's the lovely Linda Coulter-Burge, psychic and conscious business coach. Hey, Linda, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm so excited that I've got Sue here, to one of my favorite people, and looking forward to what's new with the Ponti and the messages that are coming through. Um, so I'm always thrilled when we see you. It's always so much fun, and I love seeing Kat and Jillian, my faves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to also thank the live streamers because our lovely Linda is doing the live stream chat. So her rule is be nice or get out. And she will be the bouncer. So if anyone shows up and is like, oh, this is all wrong. My truth is the only truth. Like any of that silliness, we'll give you a little love, give you another chance, and then bye-bye. So Linda, do we have any live streamers on yet that we can say hello to?
Sabrina just popped in. Hi, Sabrina.
Hey, Sabrina.
And right now, that's the only one that's put their name in. So made a
Okay.
comment. So everybody make a comment. Let me know where you're from.
Yeah, let us know where you're at, where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear about you and your experiences as we go along in these conversations. And then, of course, Jillian, OBE, ET, Spirit, and Kundalini Experiencer. She's experienced it all. How are you doing, Jillian?
I'm doing good. I'm always excited to listen to Sue. So I'm just in my glory today. I have one of Sue's pictures behind me, actually. I don't
That's
know if
right.
you can
You
see it.
won
Yeah,
that
I
picture.
won it off the show. And Sue sent it from New Mexico, I do believe. Yeah. And
Yeah, that
I'm just
was that was back before Jillian was part of the show. It's when she was one of our strongest fan, honestly. And it's so awesome that she won that image. It's of Tilkum, I believe. Is that
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. And is that Tilkum also behind Linda as well,
yes,
Sue?
it is.
So,
That's
so
also
This
Tilkum.
is, I
Tilkum is
feel so cradled in love. It just
uh
feels wonderful.
Now,
love
it
it.
always astonishes me what poses and facial expressions they choose and want sketched next and the reason behind it. Sometimes I'll find out the reason behind it, like the golden Tilkum behind you. Um, we learned about that one very early on, but it's the new ones that are teaching images. And sometimes they'll have me just doodle and very slowly an entire scene forms. And usually it's things to come. And it's
Mm,
what Tilcom has been having me draw or express via the portraits that we're doing. We'll have to talk about that some more because it's been
yeah.
an amazing journey just getting into their heads to do
Mm,
this much.
great.
And astonishing.
I will write that down so
Yeah.
we make sure we hit that up. Because you really are channeling at that point. So obviously I was going to introduce Sue, and here she is. So
Oh, hi.
Sue's
How are you?
No, it's great. And I wanted to say just real quick. So we hope to have Otter with us, but Mr. Otter is recovering from some health challenges, and I don't know if you want to give people updates, Sue, or if that's personal. But if he has friends and
We
fans,
can update you. Otter got a diagnosis of mid-stage Parkinson's disease in February and was put on some Parkinson's meds that helped his tremor, actually. And for a little while, he felt very good. But in April and May, he had two different kinds of surgeries on his mouth, including a very large, very deadly type of sarcoma growing on his lip. And so they wanted to make sure that they got it all. And they removed that, and we got a clean bill of health biopsy wise around the edges at the end of May. And so he's still in healing mode because they had to, well, what he says is his dermatologist gave him a facelift, which isn't far from the truth.
oh wow.
So he's still getting back into eating solid foods and starting to get his energy back. And so we're doing anything and everything we can to help him get back on the mend.
Thank you for letting us know that, because I know sometimes those personal things people aren't, it's personal. So I would just ask that, as you're watching the live stream, to think of Otter and to send him love and to lift him up in your prayers and your thoughts, because he's such a great guy. I mean, he is a troublemaker, and that's one of the things I love about him, is that he is such a troublemaker, a man after my own heart. And
Really,
so
anything you want to send that would make him laugh, that would be my first recommendation. So
great.
that would be the best. Laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Sue's got her contact information. We've got that down below in our description box, which I'll talk more about here in a minute. But we've got links for Sue there. So whether you want to do it through Facebook or Twitter, just send some Otter some love and some laughter. So I think that's fantastic. And just to keep us on track here, you probably know me already. If you don't, I'm Kat Udero, and I am a empath, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm also a psychic wrangler. And I've wrangled all these psychics in here today because Sue's also a psychic medium, and that's one of her gifts, which allows her to be telepathic with the Pnti. So I'm just going to go through some real quick notes here for housekeeping, as we like to call it. So we've got all of our description box links below in our description box below. Rather, we have all of our links. So we've got Sue's links, we've got our links, and for us, if you also, first of all, thank you to everyone who's donated to us. We have so many people that donate, like every week, people donate to us. So whether it's a little or a lot, I know it's awesome. We have love coming through. So thank you for that. We really appreciate that. We have our Facebook event page, which we'd like for you to also click onto that if you're on Facebook, to be part of that, so you don't miss any of our upcoming events. We've got our Facebook group page, which Sue is a part of. She is one of our members. We are very honored to have her with us. And then also, of course, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, we'd like for you to do that. Click the notification bell, and then just share our content. Give us a thumbs up. If you see something that you enjoy and it makes you laugh, makes you smile, give us a thumbs up. If you're excited to have Sue onto the show, if you're excited to know what the Pnti have to tell us about earth changes and disclosure, give us a thumbs up, give us some love. And yeah, just share the content with those that you know would be impacted positively by this or challenged in a good way. So, yep. We'll just move into our conversation with Sue. Sue's been on the show enough times that I'm not going to go into her bio. It is down below. But basically, she's a contactee, an ET contactee. She's a psychic medium. She's an artist. She really channels messages from both Sasquatch and from the Pnti. And it's just a magnificent, wonderful, loving being. She's one of my favorite people on the planet. So Miss Sue,
Yes.
let's go into earth changes and talk about that first, because I feel like we've had such crazy weather, and we have had, like I was saying before the show, before we went live, so the northwest of the United States and the southwest of Canada, where it's normally cool during the summer. You don't need people don't have air conditioners because it's so cool. They've been blasted with heat waves. People have been dying because of the heat. Animals, dogs have been dying because of the heat. And then like in New Zealand, which is, not quite tropical, but it has a lot of tropical-esque weather. They've been in a polar vortex experiencing, weather they've never encountered before. Do the Pnti have any insight as to what's going on? Any feedback on that?
Oh yeah, they have been talking to us about these upcoming Earth changes since Tilkum introduced himself to us in 2013. And so we've had 8 years now of information from the Pnti about why they're here. And one of those huge reasons is the changes that our planet is starting to go through. Okay, so what's causing all this crazy weather? And why are we setting every year 1,000-year records of rain or drought or flooding or temperature highs and lows? Why are storms more intense? Why are we having more frequent hurricanes? What the heck is going on? And so, if I can couch this in layperson's terms, our whole solar system is heading into an area of the galaxy that's kind of like choppy seas. All right. There's stuff in the water. There's lots of intensity, like you would get bursts of gusts of wind and gales, and you feel like you're tossed about. All right. The area of the galaxy that we're entering into is like that magnetically and plasma wise. All right. So, what we have observed is that two stars and their solar systems near us, Alpha Centauri and Barnard Star, I believe, entered into this choppy seas type of area of the galaxy that the Pnti keep using the phrase or the translation galactic shear, like shear wave, SHEER, EAR. Boy, now I have to look that one up. The galactic shear area, when Alpha Centauri entered into it, caused that star, that sun, to essentially juice up and sneeze. And it sent out this huge plasma burst. When Barnard Star entered into the galactic shear area of the galaxy, it did the same thing. Had a huge sneeze that was so large that the intensity of it, if our planet Earth had been in either of those systems in the direction of the sneeze, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now because there'd be no electronics left. None. Zero. It affects the sneeze from a star. If I can go back to our star and our solar system, we are already monitoring changes in the other planets in our solar system and the magnetospheres of those planets. We are also expecting this solar cycle, this 11-year solar cycle that we have just entered into, to be quite nasty. All right. And so the Pnti are telling us that because of the galactic shear area, our magnetosphere that normally protects us is weakened a huge amount. Our North Pole and South Pole, not the physical locations, but the geomagnetic north and the geomagnetic south, are traveling and shifting, and they're both weakening and threatening to split. And what do I mean? We may have two North Poles and one South Pole. We may have two South Poles and one North Pole. We may have 2 and 2. But what happens is when it splits like that, the magnetosphere that protects us gets even weaker.
Wow.
It lets in UV rays. It lets in cosmic rays that are deadly to us and deadly to plants. The galactic shear area, because the interior of our planet is like a big magnet, but it's not smooth like a rubber ball. It's lumpy, bumpy. And some areas of iron, which is the part that's attracted magnetically and changed, are closer to the surface and some are farther away. So the interior of our world, instead of looking like a smooth ball of iron, looks like something you dragged out of the fire when you were melting metal. All right.
Okay. Okay.
What happens though is the geomagnetics from the sun hit the geomagnetics of the earth and the weakened field, and historically our planet has rolled over physically.
Right.
It doesn't have to do that, doesn't do it every time, but the sudden rollover sometimes also is accompanied by a sudden rollback.
Yep, I've heard
Meatloaf
that.
wobble, but they don't fall down. Okay. So what happens if you have a sphere that's covered with water and you suddenly go, whoop, what happens to the water? It sloshes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What happens to this planet if you weaken the magnetosphere? All of the intensity that's coming in juices up all of our weather systems.
Okay.
You get more intense storms, you get more frequent storms, you get a greater rise or drop in barometric pressure. You've seen what do they call them? The barometric bombs, where
Okay.
the barometric pressure goes from here and suddenly plummets. So all of these things are starting. All of these things are scientific things that we can prove from the past or we're observing out in space right now.
Mm-hmm.
So our Pnti friends are saying this warm up that the climate is experiencing is exactly the pattern that we expect before the sudden drop into an ice age.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. And so they're recommending, to be honest, that if there's any way for you to go underground or have a means of
Mm-hmm.
going underground when the sun starts this cycle of sneezing in our general direction with a huge CME plasma stream,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll be safer. But if you have any electronics working and you're on the sun side of the planet when it sneezes,
Mm-hmm.
bye-bye electronics.
Okay, I want to unpack this a little bit just to make sure I'm tracking this because it's a lot. I feel like
It's
you
a
could be
lot.
teaching a
It's
master
a lot.
class right now. So we are entering a part of the galaxy where I'm going to try to
It's
reiterate.
We'll
What's
just call it stormy. It's a
where
very stormy part of the galaxy.
and it's stormy in terms of what stormy is are like it's like what is the storm made of? Is it plasma energy?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It basically an area that allows energy from the core of the galaxy to more easily travel our way because there's nothing in the way of it. It's just a little bit more charged and intensified compared to the other parts of space that our planet travels through as the whole galaxy spirals and circles round. So we hit this patch, this bad stormy area of the galaxy about every 12,500 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so with this part of the galaxy that is experiencing, you said that there's a star that is having its own little sneeze going on, and that was Alpha Centauri.
One of them is Alpha Centauri, and the other is called Barnard's, Barnards, Barnard star.
Okay.
So look up what's happened in those solar systems and what we have observed of the health of those stars. And that would
Okay.
be a start as to what can we expect to happen to our star.
Okay, right, exactly, because this is the nature of how stars function. They have their own cleaning cycle, their own evolution. And so with these stars that have had their solar, their own micronovas or solar sneezes, if I could say that word correctly.
Yep.
So we have that going through, and I don't, it's like we talk about plasma, but I don't really understand the nature of plasma other than it's some raw energy force to me, it's like an elemental energetic force with which you can either create or destroy, depending whether it's being directed or if it's left on its own. How would you explain plasma?
Plasma, think of moldable lightning.
Yes, right?
So it's like a glob of silly putty or Play-Doh that is changing in its shape and configuration, and it's almost melty, but it's holding a form or holding together somewhat. But
Okay.
the charge in it, the power of it, is like a lightning strike times 10 million. All right. So take the idea of plasma and think in terms of lava. Okay. Lava that's being sent from the sun to us with an electric charge like a lightning strike. So that's probably the easiest layperson's way to picture what's plasma. It's an actual state of matter. Now, it wasn't a state of matter taught when I was going through my science in college, but it is now, the plasma state.
Because it's both.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a thing that God, humans are just so linear, and we're just so slow on the uptake. And I know that we've got a question from Sabrina, who's asking if the Pnti are saying this is a certainty or a possibility, but it's a certainty. It's one of those things where this solar cycle, it is like the changing of the seasons, but it's the changing of the seasons for the sun. If you think of it in that context, where it's inevitable, it's happened. It happens every 12,500, but give or take 1,000 years.
That's right.
When you're on that level.
Yeah,
but
13,500. And if it doesn't happen this 11-year cycle, the trends that we're seeing historically will say, okay, then the cycle after that. So really, you're talking sometime in the next 22 years.
Yeah.
But more likely in the next 10 or 11.
Yeah, I mean, my sense of it when I feel into it, and again, these are things that we are co-creating a reality together. We are light beings in human form, so our consciousness impacts what we're co-creating. At the same time, the sun's going to do what it needs to do. But I feel like it's going to be in the next 7 years, next 5 to 7 years is what it feels like to me, because my inner impulses have been like really directing me to get into my mission in a way that I've, it's like I feel activated more than ever in this time of my life than I've ever been before. So then let's talk about this, because this is one of the things where when we talk about what's called the event, and there's different takes on the event, right? And there's it's almost like pick a religion. There's been something formed around the event and what it looks like and people's belief systems. And again, we're co-creators. So, we can look at the past and what we know historically when this has happened in the past and what our ET star nations did for us. And we know what they did for us passed down from the legends of the indigenous people, as well as if you talk to the Pnti, if you talk to the Sasquatch, if you're having, telepathic communication, they're going to give you their scoop on it too. I want to talk about that, and let me just tune in because I feel like I'm supposed to be asking something specific. What are the Pnti? What are the concerns of the Pnti and the Micronova? When we talk about the suns have different novas. If it did a full-on nova, it'd be like, bye everybody. It's a nova. Right. The planet's going nova, or the sun's going nova. This is a micronova, so it's a mass coronal ejection of plasma energy that it does to cleanse and clear itself. This is my understanding, and it's just part of its own cleaning process. And so where we are in the solar system at the time that this mass coronal ejection, this big plasma ejection happens, depends, that will impact the planet. It could be it's going to be upsetting no matter what, because things are going to change, because it's supposed to, because this is part of our evolution. But how it looks and the severity depends on where the planet is in conjunction when the mass coronal ejection happens. Yep. What are the Pnti's words about this?
All right, so you are absolutely right. We've asked, is this a guarantee that this is going to happen? And they respond almost like you did, Kat. They know that they're not going to be able to stop the sun from going through this cycle. Where we are, when it sneezes and what direction it sneezes in, or does this micronova type of burst, there will be areas of our solar system that will be more dangerous right in front of it, and areas where there'll be glancing blows, and then areas that won't be affected quite as much. But if you're on the sun side of the planet, facing the sun, having daylight, and the solar sneeze comes and directly hits our planet, or a strong glancing blow, your internet, your electronics, everything in the first world that you think of, that you use every day, is not going to work anymore. That means the cash you have at home is the cash that you have until the banks get their records sorted out, until the grocery stores get their things going, because all of these businesses and industries are going to get affected by electronics going bye-bye as well. Is it a guarantee that we will lose all of our electronics? No, there's never a guarantee. But if I told you you have an 80% chance of rain today, would you take your umbrella?
Right.
Okay. So the world that we know may change like that. It takes not very long, 8 minutes maybe is our level of warning time for some of this, 3 days for other types of things. But it's dangerous, and none of us are going to be able to handle it all by ourselves. We need other people that are compatible with us to survive. And that's how they did it in the past. One of the things that the Pnti say is the last time this kind of a thing happened, the earth had a very large flood event. Okay. And so every culture on every continent tells about those flood event stories, whether you're talking about in the Bible, or whether you're talking about the desert southwest of the United States, or Australia and the Aborigines, or the indigenous in Japan, or wherever. Everybody's got a flood story. And many of those original indigenous peoples also have a rescue story, as in the sky people came and helped us. Right? So we have heard the Pnti side of the sky people came and helped us. And that's part of the reason that the Star Nations are trying to push for an introduction to them, so that when they land here trying to help us again, we don't shoot at them.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So I think that, I mean, that's also our role as being human, Earth human star nations. Like, I mean, that's the thing that I really feel is it's time for us to own, those of us who are ready and willing and awake and aware, to begin to own our place in this star nation continuum as Earth human star nations. So that way, on some level, we are facilitating these graduation points, whether it's global or not, whether it's mass consciousness or not, it doesn't matter, but we're still creating pods of awareness, and ideally those pods connect and we all light up. Right. I want to kind of take it back to what you said with this 11-year cycle, okay, and talk about the Pnti, because it almost sounds to my rationale, at least, that this 11-year cycle of going through this part of the galaxy where we're experiencing the after effects of Alpha Centauri and Bernard's. What was the other one? Mm-hmm. Yeah, their micronovas. We're experiencing the turbulence from their micronovas. And to me, it's like, hey, this is practice time, everybody. Like, because, you know, what I get from this, and again, this could be my interpretation or my take on it, is that this is our time. These are opportunities. Like this turbulence these conditions, it's like, yeah, it's not business as usual anymore. Business as usual is over.
Yeah.
And all of these energetic bursts that we were going through and talking about, the barometer bombs.
Barometric pressure bombs. Yep.
Barometric pressure bombs, where these things can happen. It's like, wake up, connect to the planet, connect to yourself, connect to society. And it's meant to happen because we, like, we've been in this oppressive system, from negative ETs and from human beings who are happy to host those negative agendas and are happy to be ambassadors of those, dark agendas. So this is the time to shake all that up. And, you talk about that, the galactic shear. And I think about like shearing off things that don't matter anymore, shearing away the old. That's how I interpret that galactic shearing, where it's a useful thing, even though that may not be how it's used scientifically. That's how I interpret it. There are people out there who are like, it's fear. It's just fear. Don't worry about this. It's all going to be okay. Don't be in fear. And I'm like, well, it's not fear. Like, just as if you saw somebody standing in the middle of the street and a bus was coming down saying, get out of the street, isn't fear.
That's
I
right.
mean, it is fear, but it's a useful fear. It's like fight or flight. Like, I'm trying to save you. It's not like, oh, everyone be afraid of buses in the streets. We all need to be afraid all the time. Like, that's not what's going on. Like, we're saying, this is your moment to own your power, and not to be like, la la la, the ETs will help us. I'm a Palladian, the Palladian will help me. Like, don't be so gooey, don't be so gummy. Like find your backbone and take your position.
Yeah. Don't rely on our extraterrestrial neighbors who have come to help. Don't rely on them to be able to save 7.9 billion people. Billion with a B, guys. That's how many of us there are. And there's no star nation, no group out there in our galaxy who can bring enough ships to rescue 7.9 billion people after the sun sneezes. It's not going to happen. But what I can tell you, and the analogy that they've always shared with us, is if your next door town suddenly overnight had a tornado go through and level the town, and you had a very good friend who lived in that town, and you heard about it first thing in the morning from the news, and you decided, I need to go help, where would you go? You would go straight to your friend's house, wouldn't you?
Right.
Make sure they are okay.
Right.
If you make friends with the Pnti or the other star nations who are here to help, and they have met you and become friends back with you,
mm-hmm.
when the proverbial stuff hits the fan,
mm-hmm.
who do you think they're going to come check on first? Their friends, just like we would.
Right.
And so that's my recommendation to interested individuals, is learn how to speak with them, learn how to invite them, practice the telepathy so your brain doesn't get exhausted,
mm-hmm.
and put down your fear of interacting with them because Hollywood says that they're big, scary monsters.
Mm-hmm.
We are encouraging people to talk to other contactees. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of contactees of the Pnti across the planet now. And I would have to say 99.9 say, I had a great experience. These are wonderful people.
Right.
And so what we're finding this year is the people who have been regular friends of the Pnti over the past, say, 5 years since we've been on Twitter, 6 now. Those people who got contacted early on because they invited the Pnti are now getting visited by other star nations who are allies of our world. And so the allies, the loosely, if you want to call it the council, the federation, whatever term you would like to use. But there are a number of visiting star nations, human looking like us, or Zeta body type looking like our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are a number of them who are here already because they know that our planet is going to be in just a world of hurt
Mm-hmm.
very soon.
One
And
way
they're
or
not
another.
seeing any of us move on it.
Right. Oh God, it's so real. Yeah, and so this is the thing I also want to put into this conversation is that like my thing isn't like, oh, I hope the Star Nation save me because I I don't care if I die. Like I'm just not like I find life much more terrifying than death, to be honest. In terms of being on this crazy wackadoodle planet, like, you know, so for me, being alive was way more challenging and death was always very seductive. And that's changing finally. But like when I think about now, like the Earth changes, I go, oh, what's my role going to be? Because I feel like I'm going to be helping other humans as opposed to being somebody who's like, I hope I'm saved. I hope I'm okay. I feel like, well, no, I'm going to be okay. I've got a role to help other people. I just want to make sure I'm there for the role to help other people. And the reason I'm saying that is because I want people to, I want to invite people, my fellow Star Nation humans, to um, get out of this passive, fearful, receptive place where what's going to happen to me, what's going to become of us, and get activated and say, how can I be a conduit for the shift? How can my frequency support this shift in a way that's going to serve the most people?
Mhm.
And one of the things I want to talk about, I mean, I want to hear the perspective of what the Pnti, we could talk for hours. I just love this. I want to hear the perspective of the Pnti in terms of when they came to help the Earth in
Before?
the last big dealio,
Mhm.
the last big Earth change. I want to hear their perspective, but I also want to ask you about this whole Christ wave, light wave that comes, that from my understanding precedes the Earth shift in terms of the Micronova. Can I
Mhm.
can I can I tell you about that? And you can tell
Sure.
me so this is my understanding, and I've heard this from multiple people, not just one source, which is always why I like whenever I hear it from more than one source, that's when I'm like, okay, there's something about this. And intuitively it feels accurate. And it is that that so this is also just kind of give credit. Allison Coe is somebody who does these hypnotic therapy sessions with people, and she'll find these themes of as they talk. She talks to her people's higher selves. She finds these themes emerging, and then I will go check it out empathically, psychically, and see what feels real and what feels right. And then I'll get downloads as I do that. So that's kind of my pretext for this.
Yeah.
So as I'm tuning into this Christ wave, it really matched parallel with what she was saying, what her clients were saying, which is that first there comes this wave of light. It's like an iridescent light wave that hits the planet, and it kind of, well, it stuns people. It stuns people because it's like this Christed higher frequency. It's this love frequency, and it stuns the light workers as well. But we're stunned for a less period of time, because when I tune into it, what it feels like is that who we are, like the veil is actually removed, and we get these massive insights as to who we actually are. And this is what causes these overloads. And some people can't handle it because it's like the Truman Show, where it's like you thought your life was real, and then you have this big revelation, like, oh my God, this is all almost a simulation. It's like a projection. It's not the true continuum. And so as we wake up into that, those who have already been doing their work, they're not stunned for as long because they're like, oh yeah, this makes sense, I remember now. And those who are in deep sleep are like, bah, like they can't track. And so those are the people that kind of like they go off world. Like my understanding is that a lot of them go off world for the wave that happens next, because they literally wouldn't be able to process it. It's too much, because they're too dense, and these light codes, these light wave light codes, light everything that's coming in is about the upgrade, and they're just not there for it yet. But those of us who are here for it then are even more activated, we're more aligned, and we really begin our true work of being ambassadors for this, what we call ascension, or going into 5D, whatever lovely name you want to tack onto that. What do the Pnti have to say about that, and what do you have to say about that, Miss Sue?
When I have asked the Pnti what to expect about all of these changes upcoming and what happened last time and how things went after that light wave hit, to be honest, there was a lot of loss of life, both earth human life and animal life. And the survivors were the ones that were helped by the star nations. I don't know that they have ever used the word ascension
Right.
when they've talked about this event that's coming. They've been very realist kind of with their conversations, worried more about the physical health and well-being of people that will be suddenly thrown into crisis mode. The people that have been helped or educated or visited by star nations are usually the forward thinkers that are likely going to move out of that crisis mode into, we got to take action and move forward and help our fellow human beings, because everybody's now in a world of hurt. The star nations typically have history of several things. One, there are a number of star nations who came down and warned the local population ahead of time, hey, you better build a boat. There's going to be a big water thing coming. And it wasn't just Noah, because if you go to the northeastern part of the United States, in the Iroquois nations, they were instructed to build giant canoes. All right. We hear from the desert Southwest folks the stories of after the waters began to recede, the survivors gathered along the Pacific coastline down by Baja in Mexico, where the Colorado River flows out into the ocean. Two star nations helped walk the survivors up the Colorado River, then split off up the Little Colorado River and dropped people off into suitable areas to reside along the way. We also hear from the indigenous of this area and other parts that they have taken groups, large groups of people underground, and kept them underground and fed them and provided them with what they needed to survive until it was safe to come back up and out. So is our planet like a honeycomb underneath? Yeah, it's more honeycombed than it is hollow sphere.
Right.
But we hear from every part of the planet that going underground has been historically a safe thing to do. The Star Nation peoples that helped last time, and when the first call went out for help, 7 nations were close by and came to help and had jurisdiction and had experience with our planet. All right. Wasn't like somebody was flying by who's never been to Earth and heard a call for help and came to do stuff. These are star nations that historically helped in specific areas. The Nordic looking beings helped in Northern Europe. The Umo helped in Spain and France, maybe. I don't know if they were here that long ago. The Nagas and some of the friendly reptilian nations helped in Asia. The Zetas and some of the exoskeletal peoples helped in the desert Southwest here. And so we have all kinds of historic descriptions of assistance that came down from the sky. And then all of the indigenous peoples on every continent who said, after this big flood event, We had people come from the sky and reteach us about agriculture, about medicine, about building, about all of the foundation things you need to restart a culture. So those things we know that they have helped with and will help with again. So I don't know if that answers all your question about the ascension stuff.
Well, it's one of those things where, again, it's like this light wave that comes first. It's like that one doesn't kill from this is seen, it doesn't kill people, but not everybody can handle it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, and because we're at a different, God, it's a different culture. Even though we've had advanced cultures that do get wiped out, and then like that's part of our history. And so this is an advanced culture, even though our thumbs are up our bums most of the time. We are an advanced culture. It's going to look different this time than it has in the past. I mean, compared to our ET friends, we're knuckle draggers. But so the light wave seems to be something that is a precursor to the physical plasma burst. And I don't know if the Pnti have anything to say about that, if they're like, nope, that's not real, or if they're just like, that's not one of our concerns. But like, so there's that I'm kind of curious about what they have to say. And then there are people who have seen this. And actually, I don't know, I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, Linda, but Linda had the same dream as well, where like she walks into a building, there's something massive happening on the planet, and everyone's like, get into this building. This is your protection. And another psychic saw this who, I don't know them. I heard their story. It was like a question they were asking a presenter. I won't get into all that, but they were saying, I saw this happen, and this person didn't have a context. They weren't front loaded, right? They were not front loaded for this. They were like, oh my God, what you're talking about is a psychic dream I had. And this is a psychic medium who had this dream, where she walks into a building. It's like everyone knows that they need to walk into the building. There are people who don't want to walk into the building. Like they're pulled to be outside. Something happens, a mass something, wave of light, whatever it is, happens. And then when they open the door and walk out, everybody else is gone. And the people who protected themselves are the ones that are left.
Wow.
And so that's symbolic,
yes,
perhaps, but it's not an isolated one person's thing. It's a recurring theme that people are seeing.
We know that the Pnti have told us that they're going to be doing more teaching, sharing, instructing in dreams and downloads in dreams, and speeding up that process with who receives that information and how much ahead of time. And so it reminds me a little bit of the movie, what's the name of the movie where it was Devil's Tower that everybody was drawing or making a sculpture
of? The Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind. All right. Mm-hmm. That sense of, I know stuff, but I don't know how I know it.
Right.
Is going to become more common, and you'll see more people have these aha moments, or I feel drawn to move here and I don't know why. Right. I feel drawn to learn this thing and I don't know why. I have to do this, and it doesn't make any logical sense to me or my family, but I still need to do it. And so all of that assist, suggestion, dream state information of what to do, how to get safe, is going to increase that much. They've told us, but they've been evaluating who the leaders are that they can work with amongst the friends that they've made,
right,
and who are really more the followers and not the action takers. So I fully expect many of the regular contactees to begin to feel drawn to take an action of some kind, because traditionally, historically, that's how star nations have assisted Earth humans in the past. Noah, you got to build this boat. That's That's the type of download that he got.
Mm-hmm.
But other people may be given a suggestion of helping themselves and other Earth humans in other ways rather than just making a boat. We don't know, but we are seeing more and more activity of them going out to increase the number of friends they have that don't react fearfully when they show up in your home.
Right. Exactly.
So
Yeah, and I want, so on that, that's which is great. I mean, again, it's about taking your place as a Star Nation Earth human. That's just my thing these days, where I'm like, we have got to take our place as who we actually are, and stop being passive. Like they say, get off your knees and stop being passive. Stop looking up for heaven to help you. You know,
go find your
embody it.
tribe.
Find your tribe and find your power.
Yes.
So hey, Miss Linda, I want to share a picture of one of Sue's. Sue's got several portraits. I want to go through these. Oh, I have power to share. All right, thank you. I thought maybe I didn't have power to share. So everybody, this is an image that Sue has basically channeled, a concern with the Pnti. So I'm going to put this image on here. And as I talk, let me know, you can see the images, right? Okay, great. So as I'm talking, you can see this image. Now, I believe that's Tilkum. Is that right, Sue?
That's correct.
So,
Tilkum seldom requests things these days, and when he does, I listen very carefully. He came and requested this specific image of the sun, complete with the small black dot you see in the center.
yep, and I'll talk for a second just so
Right.
it shows my screen. So
And
here's
so
a
this,
small dot
yep,
that you can
yep.
see.
This
This
is
is
our star.
Tilkum looking
Right.
very concerned. He's not smiling. His brow is furrowed.
Right. Right. And he called this illustration or portrait a present and growing concern. And then the very last thing he asked me to add was that little black dot. And I said, Tilkum, what is this? And he said, well, it actually is a manufactured world size helper, assist. I'm trying to come up with the right translation.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is when this small sphere is between the Earth and a coronal mass ejection,
Mm-hmm.
it magnetically connects with that area that's about ready to sneeze
Oh,
and calms it down.
wow.
So if it has a 28-day orbit, if you could, and it's just outside of our visual light spectrum, but they've caught this sphere in silhouette. When there's a coronal mass ejection right behind it, you see it as a small black dot, just like this.
Okay.
They've put out a lot of solar satellites to monitor our sun in the past 2-3 years, more than any other time in history. But this small sphere is a planet-sized manufactured sphere with a seam around the middle.
Okay, and it's manufactured. Do they know who manufactured it? Because it's obviously not human.
It is not our technology, and I have never heard the Pnti explain where or whose technology this is. I can tell you that this sphere is mobile, as in can be moved from one star to another, one system to another. It actually is fueled because of the proximity that it has. So it derives its energy to function from the star itself. That's as much as we know. So can it completely protect us from any CMEs? No, and that's why Tilkum had this illustration is if you look right by the sphere, there's a burp interacting with the sphere area. But there's also yet another by the sun sneeze where the plasma escapes the interaction
Ah,
with the sphere.
okay. I'm going to talk for one quick second, Sue, just so my screen shows.
Yep, yep.
I'm gonna point out what you're talking about. So here we have the sphere, and it's catching this energy. But retro, here's another, like it's only one sphere, right?
Correct.
So it's catching that burst, but this burst is like woohoo, got through,
Yes,
escaped.
correct.
And so this is hence the concern look is like, well, that one was stopped, but this one wasn't. What's that
Right.
one going to do to the
Right.
planet?
Exactly. So it is an assist. It is not a complete and perfect solution.
Yeah. Can
Here
you
it's brought to this system to help us and the life on our world. And honestly, there are so many star nations who have a lot of research on this planet. They don't want that research to go to waste either.
right.
They
That's
don't
true.
want it destroyed either.
Right.
They know that they are also in danger because of the instability of the sun. And so if they're sitting in a ship and over the earth and it sneezes and they get caught in it, are they affected by it? Yes. They're physical beings like we are, or the 3D beings that we are, and they and their ships get affected by the storm as well as we do. So it's not, some of it's self-serving, as in we don't want all of our research over these centuries to get destroyed.
Right.
And some of it is knowing that they still need to allow the sun to go through its health cycle. They
Right.
can't stop this, and they don't want to stop it.
Right.
They would like to direct it if they could.
Right. And that again, that's the important thing is that this isn't about stopping it. It's about working with it. And we got to be able to to stop being reactionary and be proactionary. Now, if I were to be so bold, Sue, and ask you to check in with whoever is on deck at the morning, would they be able to tell you who created the sphere, or is that something that they don't want to disclose?
I don't think that they're ready to disclose that. Oh, hang on. Jael is over in the information desk area, and she says this falls into the category of not being able to discuss the technology. This sphere is old. It's not a new device.
Yeah.
It's been dragged around from star system to star system for as long as the Pnti know.
Wow.
And so what I don't know is, are there earliest memories and records that of people who created it and brought it from system to system, or found it and figured out how to bring it from system to system? And I believe this was discovered technology that those star nations ended up back engineering to figure out what it was, how it worked, and how to use it.
Oh, whoa, I just got this chill. It's ancient builder race technology is what I just got.
Yes.
Is that it's ancient builder.
Right. The architects.
Yeah. Did they confirm that?
Yes. Designers of worlds, architects, builders, the ancients, you'll hear all of those phrases used for advanced races that actually many of them take on a human looking kind of appearance because it's a useful physical body type that works.
Sure.
And are there races out there that actually design habitable worlds and systems? Yes, there are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
you're talking about, those folks.
Yeah, because yeah, the ones who built the planet, I would say, like the ones who built it and were guarding it, the guardians. Yeah, it's like the ancient builder race who are also now coming back as guardians to help make sure their creation doesn't get completely jacked up by the humans, and also by the negative ET ones who are, the whole kit and caboodle. That was my intuitive hit there. It was like, oh, ancient builder race technology. And yes, it's been around and it's still available, but they're not around because they're operating on a different frequency. They can certainly, I think, interface on their own when they choose to. So let's kind of share some of your other images here and let us have you give us some breakdown. So let's go over here. So this says, I hold the light for you. I breathe in the light with you. We exhale our light together and share light breath with all. Traditional Pnti parting goodbye. And that looks to be, I would say that's Druti.
It is Trudy. It is Trudy. Trudy with her scarves.
Yep.
Yep, because she doesn't like her head cold. This Tilkum originally taught us this, along with the hand gestures that go with it. And I hold the light for you, and then you actually form a circle with your hand, like you're sipping through a straw.
Mm.
I breathe in the light with you is a sip. We exhale our light together, and then raise your hands and share light breath with all.
Wow.
So it is something that you would hear spiritual leaders say to their congregation or the people that follow them, or you would hear two very advanced people say to one another, or spiritual people say to one another. But it is a blessing and a reminder that we all are sharing the same light breath.
That's nice. And I love that you gave us the hand gestures so we can actually practice that on our own. And let's hop over to this one. So this is someone who's new to me.
Kit is...
it's Kit. It's Kit. Oh, okay.
Kit is the individual over at the information station who teaches the new trainees how to interact with us and teach us while we are in a sleep state or an alpha theta state. So she is their dream expert that instructs other staff members how to download dreams into us as Earth humans.
Oh, wow.
How to talk to us in a lucid dream state and keep us in that state. How to keep you awake but keep everybody else, including your pets in your household, asleep. So Pet teaches all of those things.
Wow.
And, the pillow in this was really a reminder of, I'm the dream expert. I'm the one that helps you learn during sleep.
Okay, cool. And that is Kit. And Kit's been around for a while. I thought this was somebody else.
It's all right.
So thank you, Kit, for doing what you do. And then this is again it would be Druti.
Right, Druti with her headscarf. This is her green silk scarf. She just has a whole collection. But the original, when I first did the first Druti with a headscarf, somebody on Twitter said, "Oh, I don't like that. It reminds me of this particular religion where women must cover their heads and do da 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 da." And Druti came back and said, "I wear them because I don't like my head cold."
Right.
So they were trying to assign this huge blah 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 meaning, and she said, "Don't you wear a hat if your head is cold?"
Right.
But she is so gracious in trying to explain all of the things that are coming to people without causing more fear. And fear is the big thing that they are trying to help us overcome.
Right.
Not only fear of them or other star nations, but also fear of this huge, scary change that's going to come to our planet.
Yeah.
And are we going to survive it? Are our children going to survive it? Are our grandchildren going to survive it? And so she's a very good one to talk to about dealing with those kinds of fears.
Okay. That is great. That is good to know. Yeah, and to me, I always think of with the headscarf, I always think of Mother Mary. Like she's got
Oh
this
yeah, right.
very,
Yeah.
yeah, she's got a very loving, gentle, calm, grounded energy when I tune into her.
She really does. That's the very first thing that most men who have never interacted with a Star Nation person before, the first thing out of their mouth when I said, "So Drudy came to visit you, how was it?" And their most common response was, "I got knocked back by this huge tsunami of unconditional love. I didn't know that much love existed in the entire universe. I couldn't
Wow.
even talk." I mean, it's just this huge understanding of the power of love. And
Wow.
that's their first memory of, this wasn't lightweight, oh, she loves me. This was like, oh.
And I love that. And I think we are so starved for love on this planet, we don't even know it. And then we encounter something like this where it's like, oh, that's what love is. And it's just, we don't have a human context for it because we're so cut off from it on this crazy,
Yep.
crazy planet.
Yep.
And then this is this, who is this?
This is Dell, and Dell
Del.
is their fleet master. He's the oldest Pnti over there.
Oh,
He was born in our year. Boy, I think we asked him, and I'm not real good with numbers, but I think our year 1758 or 1753, somewhere in there. Tilkum was born in
dang.
our year 1777. That one's easy for me to remember. And Dell is a little bit older than that. He's
Damn.
been at the station longer than any other Pnti also, and
Mhm.
has been doing the same job at the station since he arrived.
Wow.
Their craft are seamless, extruded from multidimensional space, all in one piece, complete, and then merged with a biological sentient individual seeking a home. And so the fleet ends up being much more akin to a whole herd of horses than it does a whole herd of cars. So it's a
Okay.
biological conscious being in each and every vessel.
Wow. Okay, now I want to hear this again because this is the first time I've heard how the ships were made. The ships are extruded from where now?
All right. So when you have a ship that needs to have the capabilities of traveling through multidimensional space,
Uh-huh.
okay, there is a way of manufacturing that vessel by essentially extruding material through one dimension into our dimension, and the ship essentially comes out complete and in one piece.
Whoa.
So that's extrusion through multidimensional space.
Wow.
No seams, no rivets, no doodads on the outside. All right. And
Yeah.
we're talking about this, everything from the small tic tac shaped skipper ships that are about the size of a small plane.
Mm-hmm.
And then their next size up would be a saucer size. So the little ships, usually a crew of 6. The medium sized ships can have a crew of several dozen. The larger cylinder shaped or cigar tube shaped ships that can go in the ocean and scoop up entire whale pods, multiple members of a pod, and the water that they need to survive. Those ships can have a complement of 100 to 150 employees or staff members.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not including the hospital ships that are already starting to come into our system and park out beyond the orbit of Neptune, which are
Damn.
more giant spheres, small moon size. Okay, so there's all kinds of different sorts of vessels, but the ones that we see the Pnti use in our atmosphere have all been extruded.
I feel like this could be a whole show talking about how the ships are created. I want to know, Sue, can you psychically see this in your mind's eye? Because it's like I feel like you have an experience of it, like you've kinesthetically had a psychic experience of these ships being formed. Is that true?
Yes. I'm trying to think of a good analogy, and I don't know that I have a really good one. It's almost as if I take something in a jelly-like, plasma-like, liquidy but not liquid state,
Mm-hmm.
and instruct it to mold itself into a specific shape. And that process came to the Pnti from other star nations. They didn't invent the process,
Mm-hmm.
but they use it. That's the one thing that making allies with star nations affords us, is we get a chance to not only share technology with one ET race, but more than 30.
Mm.
And so that's a little mind-blowing. And a lot of people on Twitter are saying, well, what's commerce going to be like after this? What's this going to be like? What's that going to be like? And the honest answer is we don't know yet, because we don't know the results of what the Pnti call our Earth's official first contact.
Mm.
And they're talking to us and have talked to us about an upcoming official first contact with not just the Pnti, but more than 30 star nations who regularly, on a daily basis, you can find on our planet.
Whoa. Okay. Let's talk about that, because that was actually the next subject to segue into. And I swear, Jillian and Linda, I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to let you talk. I know that this is what happens when Sue's on the show. I just have a hard time not just like taking your hand and like running into the universe and like, full steam. I wanted to know then, these 30 star nations that you're saying are hanging out with us, you're saying they're physically here?
Yes.
They are
Right. So
physically?
on any given day, there's an average of somewhere between 75 and 80 separate star nations visiting our planet. Not 75 and 80 ETs, 75 to 80 types of extraterrestrials. Most of them are here because of our oceans.
Oh, yes, we did talk about this. We've talked about this,
right.
Yes.
And so the nations that are interested in participating in Earth's official first contact, most of them are terrestrial, not all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So some of them have the ability to do their research in the deepest parts of our ocean, where you and I can't go because we'd get squished like a bug.
Yep.
So the amorphid, or without a shape that is permanent, is an amorphid.
Yeah. Okay.
Think of an undulating jellyfish. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it can move and there's no bones, and it has this flowing cartilaginous type of movement. Well, there are some star nations, and you're going to laugh, but the one phrase that helps me remember what they look like is one of the members that signed the last treaty in 1971 were what we call the oily bubble people, or what I call them. All right. So what does an oily bubble person look like? If you picture an undulating 4 foot across soap bubble that has an iridescent shimmer sheen and a cell structure, but it floats on the air and has the ability to go down deep into the ocean with crushing depths and interact with the sentient life there, but also can come up on land and just use the air currents to float around. That's possible too. But sentient. Now,
go ahead.
What their real name is and where they're from, I can't tell you. I can tell you Now, a friend of mine in Iowa witnessed one
Oh, wow.
in the middle of Iowa.
Right?
Uh-huh. And so she described it to me, and I had never heard of anything like that before. It wasn't until I met another contactee who I said, have you ever heard of a nation that's like this? And he went, oh yeah, those are what we call the oily bubble people. They signed the treaty. Okay. Not making this up.
No, I know that you're not. I know that you're not.
Yeah.
Who are the sentient beings? This is totally sidetracked. Who are the sentient beings down at the bottom of the ocean? Who are they? What do
All
they
right.
look like?
So you are familiar with the octopuses,
Yeah.
plural, okay, the octopi families.
Uh-huh.
There are some amorphids in the deep ocean that speak with a light language of areas of their surface cells or skin
Uh-huh.
that can glow and turn on and off in different colors.
Okay.
So if you go down to the deep oceans, do some of our fish have the ability to have a bioluminescent part of their physical body? Yes, it's like that. But if you think that our octopus are from Earth originally, I don't think so.
Right.
Not. So
I've heard
there
that.
are a number of amorphids types that can live at those depths, but not a lot. And
Okay.
it's ones that use a light language. And again, the only thing I get from the Pnti is, when we're talking about the deep ocean folks,
Mm-hmm.
is they start with Sirius B and that aquatic world orbiting that star, and then go from there. There
Okay.
are not, while water on a planet is not uncommon, an entire huge 75% plus saltwater planet is less common,
Okay.
and one of our age that can support all kinds of diverse biological aquatic beings from all over, including what you and I would call the merfolk.
Yes.
So are there mer peoples
Yes.
that swim and speak with and honor our whales? Yes, there sure are. There sure are. Are all of them from here?
No.
No, no. But they don't go down to the deep part of the ocean because they have a climate within the ocean that they survive in best.
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay.
I can totally get that. Okay, so let's talk about disclosure. I mean, I really want to talk about that more, but we have like 40 minutes left, and I haven't even had the ladies talk. So I'm trying not to be a total a-hole. Let's talk about disclosure and what the Pnti have to say about disclosure.
Thanks for stealing my thunder.
Oh, sorry, Linda wants to know what they have to say.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, Linda, what's your question
Tell
here?
me about disclosure and why it's happening now.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you. That's a good question to ask, as a matter of fact. All right. So what we know is this. The Pnti have been very consistent and have never wavered from saying that after the Desert Accord Treaty that was signed by multiple countries in 1971, that treaty was signed in the last week of August, and its 50-year time frame is done at the end of August this year. The star nations tell us that they can't afford another 50 years for us to, quote, get ready to meet them, because our planet and the change is coming, and the worsening of the climate and the survivability of our world with all the changes coming. Our time is getting real short, and they're getting real pressed. So they're not planning on giving us another 50-year treaty before we can share tech with them or meet them because they say we don't have that long to afford. We know that originally when Tilkum first began to talk to us in 2015 about official first contact, what he said was that 32 of the almost 80 some nations that regularly visit our planet would like to participate. That was the last number that we had.
Okay.
Most of them terrestrial like we are. Some of them have the ability to be aquatic or semi-aquatic in their nature. When we talk about that treaty, they said that part of the treaty was no giving technological information to random Earth humans just because they ask,
Right.
and no video or photographs, recorded images. That ends, that restriction ends at the end of August. We know that Tilkum from the very beginning has always maintained that official first contact will be in the fall of 2021, which actually puts it between September 22nd and December 21st-ish. I'd have to check the calendar for this year, but that season. Normally, the Pnti and the other star nations keep time on our world, not by our Julian calendar, although they understand it. They keep time by our moon cycles.
Okay.
And our seasonal changes from longest day of the year to shortest day of the year to all the ones right in the middle. All right. So the quarters and the cross quarters, the solstices and the equinoxes, and then the exact middle in between, the cross quarters, are usually when they wait to hold big events on either a solstice, a cross quarter, or an equinox.
How do they think it's going to go down? What are they envisioning? Like, what is, because it's like, oh no. So, because it's like everyone talks about disclosure. I mean, there's like, again, a kabillion, the opinion on disclosure is as different as the person talking about it. What do the Pnti have to say about what it's going to look like and unfold?
Okay, so they tell us they will not land on a military base. They will not land on an airport area. They will not interfere with those flights. They didn't want the connotation of landing on a military base.
Me either.
All right. They did indicate, and a cryptic phrase that Tilkum used very early on is that they plan on choosing a landing site with positive historic connotations for things and people coming down from the sky.
Okay.
All right. So if I think about what would be a positive connotative place historically where good things or good people came down from the sky. I know that if you read the Popol Vuh, the story of the Quiche Mayans and the Star Nation help that they received, they said that a Star Nation ship came down and landed on the top of the mountain where they are. That would be a positive place for historically things coming down from the sky. If you think about Devil's Tower, east of Devil's Tower, the Lakota had white buffalo calf woman come down from the sky and give the people of the plains, Upper Plains Nation there, instructions for how to live a balanced life and gave them their 7 sacred ceremonies.
No, she was an ET?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So where Star Nations, if you think about Uluru in Australia.
Yes.
Positive, historic place where things or people came down from the sky to be helpful, to be teachers.
Oh.
Okay. So every continent has locations that fit that description. And so those are the places that are most likely for that continent to experience its official first contact. I
Okay.
don't know that they're going to choose just one country to land in.
Right, right.
We don't know that. We do know that they're not going to show up in 30 ships all in one spot. They do not want it perceived as a threat
Right.
or a coming armada that's going to attack. So they're trying to keep it simple, and they're trying to meet people that they've already made friends with.
Okay. That is gorgeous. Oh, Sue, I want to go to I want to go to your house at some point, and I'm just gonna do like interviews with Sue for like 5 days in a row. We're gonna break down so many of these topics, and I'm just, ugh. So what I want to do now is dedicate the last 30 minutes to Miss Jillian and Miss Linda and our
I like
people, because I have been a greedy little bee this entire time, but I can't help myself. So, Jillian, I wanted you to come in here and talk about the mysterious thing that happened to you this morning, because we are suspicious. And what I want you to do is ask if this is the Pnti. Something happened with Jillian. Let her. I won't share her story. I'll let her do that. But then I want you to ask whoever's on the deck right now, Miss Sue, to see if that was in fact the Pnti. So,
Sure.
take it
What
away,
happened?
Jillian.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was strange. I this morning I took my son, he's a toddler, Stu, out for a drive because he was just having fits and I had enough of it. So I took him for a drive, and this is my time to space out and talk to whoever's around. Like I do this every time I go. So, and I knew you were coming on, so I thought, okay, I'm just going to extend an invite to the Pnti or to whoever, my team, my galactic team as well, who is most likely around. So I put it out, like I asked permission to come through, and I gave them permission to come in and this and that. So I drove home, and I mean, nothing happened on the drive. I came home and I was in the bathroom getting ready, and I opened my jewelry box, and there was a necklace sitting there that I have not seen in over a year. I have torn my entire house apart. No joke. I have looked. I have it on right now. It's
Oh,
it's
nice.
an upside down, and it's moonstone in the middle. It's very significant to me. And anyways, I haven't seen it in over a year. I tore my jewelry box apart. I don't know how many times looking for this thing. And I just opened it.
And it was right on top.
And it was right there. It was just right there, staring me in the face. So I thought, and I sent Kat a message. I thought, it isn't this weird? Like, do you think there's something with that?
Very, very likely, to be honest. Your story echoes almost exactly the story that we have here at our house, as well as one of our Australian regular contactees is a fella whose nickname is Wookie. And Wookie had purchased a very expensive piece of jewelry for his wife. And she always kept it in a particular location in her jewelry box. And one day it was missing. It finally showed up either 9 months or a year later, like yours did. Most of the time, if they are interested in something and they want to borrow it, study it, recreate it, they will bring it back. Sometimes they'll put it back exactly where they found it, just a long time afterwards.
Yeah.
But we've also had them return things after several days in a weird but obvious place. Okay, so let me give you, for instance, let's say that I just finished cleaning up the kitchen from dinner and wiping down the kitchen table with a rag, and I turn around to put my rag in the sink, and I turn back and there's an earring in the middle of the table. It's that kind of, wait a moment, I just wiped that table, it was not there. And it didn't come from my cleaning rag. We've had them return things to us when we haven't even been home.
Mm-hmm.
When we've been out hundreds of miles away from home in our camper. We have other individuals relay the same kinds of things. I think Kevin Estrella has talked about guitar picks, if I remember right.
Yes.
All right.
I think
so
I remember, yeah.
we have the things that are in common that they borrow is they're small. They fit into your hand or your pocket. Frequently, they are a piece that is unique and handmade of something, whether it's jewelry or something else. And they find it intriguing. And so they borrow it.
Can you
So,
ask?
I
can you-
would say, yeah, I'm getting a thumbs up from the mountain, to be honest. And
Oh.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
And the real question is, did we put it back right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I have not seen this thing in well over a year. Well over. And that jewelry box, I mean, I have one single jewelry box. That's the first place I tore apart looking for this thing.
And it
And I've
wasn't.
torn it apart several times. And there's actually, in the drawer that I found it, there's a case for a necklace, like an empty case, and it takes up half the drawer. And I remember repeatedly like looking into that case too to see if it was in there, and there was nothing else in that drawer. Nothing.
Yep. Nope.
Nothing.
That's an experience that we've heard at least a half a dozen times from a half a dozen different people, whether they're Europe, Australia, North America, it doesn't matter. The pattern's the same. Can you guys excuse me for just a little bit? I got to take care of something. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves for just a
Talk
minute.
amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. Well, that is really cool, Jillian. And it would you're such a little ET yourself. You're such a little ET angel yourself. It would make sense to me that they would reach out to you because you really are open. You really are. I mean, yeah, I envy you in a lot of ways, but you're really open and you're really accessible. So I love that you're already having Pnti interactions.
Yeah. And when I looked in that drawer and I saw it, like my stomach just did one of these. Like it just went into a complete, I was like, oh God, that was like, because when things happen like that, I mean, there's always that part of your brain that is like, well, maybe, are you sure? Are you sure? No, there was nothing in that drawer except for that empty case. And it's just when I saw it, it's like, oh my God.
You knew something was up.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had weird things before, but I didn't even know what to do with myself. That's why I sent you a message. I was like, you gotta hear this, what happened.
I get chills in my legs talking about it. So and Linda's getting some physical affirmation too. What are you getting, Linda? Oh, you're muted, honey. You're muted, Linda.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking of all the times that's happened with me and hoping that they return a bracelet that I lost.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I love hearing. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just seeing a lot of affirmations from people on our chat that similar things have happened to them. So that's really cool.
Oh, that's cool. I want those things to happen to me. Did you have any other questions, Jillian, before we toss the mic over to Miss Linda?
Not really questions, but there's something that you said, Kat, that I really resonate with. And it's just, when things hit the fan, I believe that I'm going to be here to help as well. And it's just, I went through, for Sue, I went through about a year and a half after I started waking up of doing long meditations, and I was seeing ETs almost every day. I mean, it was clairvoyantly while I was meditating. Mm-hmm. And to me, that period of time after about the year and a half, I mean, I still do once in a while, but I have nowhere near enough time as I did to do the meditation. So I'm not having those experiences anymore. So I was a bit, I go in and out of being upset about it because it was such a significant part of my, time of my life. I mean, it was very drastic and literally in my face. But I feel now that maybe, my life circumstances with having another child and that kind of being not closed off, but not as accessible to me, is that this is almost like a resting period.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
For me before things ramp up again.
Mm.
And I take comfort in that. Like I choose to just subscribe to that belief because I mean, if I have been going all of this time continuing to have those experiences, I can't picture what it would be like right now if I wasn't in the situation that I am, with having this gap of rest.
Mhm.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense to me. What we find the Pnti doing is having like a bell curve, periods of time where there's a great deal of activity followed by a lull, followed
Mm-hmm.
by another high, followed by a low, as if they're giving you time to digest
Mm.
and really solidify what you've learned. And
Mm-hmm.
or we see them giving people breaks when other life circumstances like kids, birth, things like
Yeah.
that come into play, and your time is overwhelmed with just your living of life and the stresses of those things first. So they'll back off and give you a lull. They don't give you more than you can handle, but sometimes they take you right up to the brink.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that
But
is well
for the
said.
most part, I would say if you've had an extended lull and you're feeling like, okay, I'm finally getting life back into balance again so that I can spend a little bit more time in that zone, that no brainer state, it doesn't have to be proper yoga, closed eye, candle meditation.
Yeah.
Anything that takes you timeless will work.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Anything.
That's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Awesome.
I love that. Thank you, Jillian. If you have anything else that comes up, please feel free to pop in and bring that up. I know we had at least one question from our audience, and then we'll let Linda get into any of her questions and as well. But I wanted to thank Catherine Bully for hanging out. So this was a question, and Sue just waved to you, Catherine. This was a question in terms of we'll try not to use the terminology so Facebook doesn't or YouTube doesn't censor us because everything's such a censorship right now. But the jabs, well, let's call them the jabs and the mass jabs that are going on with the latest endemic pay. um, with all the things going on. So there's, again, there's this whole litany of beliefs like I've not been jabbed. I have no intention of being jabbed. I believe my immune system, I believe my body and my immune system. Other people feel like it's required and it's necessary. So there's no judgments. We're all about no judgments. We let people have their journeys here. Do the Pnti have a take in terms of, because one of the fears is that with all these mass injections, we'll call them, is that when I tune into it, it feels like there's an intention to for sterilization. There's an intention to compromise immune system. I don't think it comes from any place good. But that's my tune in, right? And I'm not going to say it's true for everybody. What do the Pnti have to say about that?
All right. They've been very careful also about speaking about um, this entire subject of the worldwide pandemic because they don't want to come across as pro one thing and not pro another.
Right. It's so
But
divisive.
what they do say is that the mutation rate of this particular virus and its own tactics for survival as a virus are very, 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 very unusual compared to other viruses on our planet that
Okay.
are natural. All right. So, of all the viruses types out there, they tell us, yep, this is a weird one that we would not have expected to naturally see.
Mm.
All right. The other thing that they talk about is the variability of the Earth human population in how it handles this particular virus and the effect that it has on different segments of the population. So we've had discussions about segments of the population that seem to get it worse and have more dire consequences than other segments of the population. That said, we've asked about the jabs And when we ask about that, we always get this, you must weigh, you must compare and contrast.
Mm.
Is the current mutation the worst one, and is it going to get better or is it going to get worse? What they're saying is it looks as if it's designed to continue to mutate.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's not good for the jabs, because the jabs don't always have the ability to guarantee keeping up with any of that.
Right.
And so, because the mutation rate is so large, it can sweep through an area like a wildfire sweeps through a tinder dry forest. It can just consume everything in its path in a particular area and then be done. And so it's real dicey whether or not to recommend people get jabs or don't recommend people get jabs for them. What we can say is that other star nations who have our physiological human body type,
Mm-hmm.
a good half to 3/4 of them also seem to be susceptible to some effect from this particular powerfully mutagenic virus.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way they phrase it. They have had to counsel other human body type nations as to what to do as precautions for this. And because some of the variations here, if you get it and get it bad, can have you throwing blood clots from every organ in your body, then that's where they say you must weigh for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Can your body handle that much damage that quickly and get on top of it, versus does it need an assist? And so
Mm-hmm.
they're not dictating you should or should not do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They are saying use your discernment.
Yep.
Observe what's going on, because what's happening today might be the tip of the iceberg compared to something else coming down the pike in another 6 months. We could have something much worse that may send people running to say, I need my jab.
Right. I mean, and on the other side of that, people who have gotten jabs and have had who've died from the jabs. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where there's so many facets of it, and people
There
who've
are many
had
facets of it.
horrendous physical experiences that are not reported on the
Right.
news. It's
That's
like
right.
all of that's hidden. I
Yep.
think there's a clear agenda around that. But I do want to tie
And
some mic over to
I do
Mike
want
over
to
to
say
Linda.
though, Kat, on the
Yeah.
other hand, I've known several people that have died from it. So
of Corona. Oh, I said it. Shit.
yeah,
Oh
of the
yeah, no,
beer.
people have died, but people have also
Yeah.
died from the jab. So it's like pick your poison.
Yeah.
It's like which one do you think you're going to survive?
So
Well,
I, yeah,
any
and I,
vaccination, you play the odds, because
right.
no vaccination that has ever been created is ever 100% safe. Historically,
Right.
it has not happened. And
Mhm.
so, will you always have some segment of the population that has a problem, even if you've created the best vaccination possible? Yeah,
Mhm.
sure, you can have. But what they're looking at, if I understand things correctly, is for the vast majority of the Earth humans on this planet, will they be helped or hurt? And that's that weighing.
Yep.
Hmm.
Let
Yeah. I mean, it's an individual choice. And like for me, I do everything I can to boost my immune system. I did get jabbed because I live with someone who's very compromised, and mine was compromised in the past. So it's
Yep.
an individual
It is an
Yeah.
choice,
individual.
I think, that you do
Totally.
have to weigh.
It is. So,
So what would you like to ask Linda, and what questions and thoughts did you
what else
have?
do you want to know, Linda?
So we have our very first question we still haven't answered.
Oh
Did
no.
Radar get his birthday wish? Amy wants to know.
Which one? Which birthday wish?
She didn't say.
Okay.
And also, what about one of them getting caught on camera?
Oh, okay.
What's the
So what
story?
I
What's the
can
scoop?
tell, Radar is the member of the Pnti who studied our Earth media and knows our media that has genre overlapping with UFOs, star nations, technology for space, space travel, all the science fiction stuff. They keep their finger on the pulse of our opinion of extraterrestrials by Radar studying all these things. All right, so Radar likes our Earth media and is a bit of a ham himself.
Right.
He and some of the other guys that normally fly with him and his crew have been discussing, and oops, I got caught on camera. I didn't know that full spectrum camera was right there. Oops. Okay. And Grayson and Radar both went to Commander Tilkum and said, they have these things called dash cams. It's a moving camera on vehicles, and there's thousands of them. Do you expect us to avoid all of the dash cams too? How are we going to do that, boss? That's not practical. Okay. And Tilcom had to acquiesce and say, yeah, just don't fly straight down the interstate to try and get photographed. But these guys still want to sneak in front of a camera.
It ought to be easy with all of the home security systems to
Yes.
get caught.
So they're planning on what they call a television oops moment. And I don't know how it's going to come down yet. They're very aware of paranormal shows that use devices like full spectrum cameras to do ghost hunting. All right. They're very aware of people who are doing CE5s and film it, that they're using night vision things that go beyond our eyesight. And so they're talking about having something that is a mistaken picture or video taken of them that ends up going viral. So
I have a question.
Moment.
I have a question on that. So with the disclosures that are happening, that the government's releasing, is that happening because our government's kind of like, oh shoot, we need to actually start making people aware of this and testing the waters because we don't have a choice, it's going to happen? Is that why things are starting to come to the surface?
All right. So what you're asking is twofold. One aspect is, when are the powers that be going to show us the craft that they've been creating since the Reagan era? Our Earth human created space-faring craft that have anti-friction and or anti-gravity capabilities. All right. When are they going to reveal that? That's a different reveal than ET is here and here they are. Okay. When President Trump was in office, he was chomping at the bit, as far as we understand from the Pnti. He was wanting to demonstrate the abilities of some of the manufactured craft like the TR-3Bs, the triangular big ships that are the size of a football field. Okay. I'm very surprised that a big parade type of thing did not happen on his watch, showing that kind of power or might or technology to all the other countries on Earth, with almost a sense of, see what we have now, see what our capabilities are now. Okay. a boasting kind of thing. When we think of when we talk to the Pnti about official first contact, one of the cautionary things that they talk to us about is we here have multiple militaries and or private entities capable of launching into space now. Okay, how many countries or space agencies can you list right now that have the capability of going above our atmosphere? Okay, right off the top of my head, I can think of 5, and not all of them are United States. Okay, so multiple chances for other countries to also have interaction with our extraterrestrial cousins. You can't keep everybody secret that much longer. You just can't. Too many powers that be have their hand in the mix now. And one of them is going to end up being more viral going across media than others in the, we want to show you what we found first so that we are perceived as the leaders in this area, in this genre. So we waited 6 months for the government here to release a document the past week, 10 days. And what did that document say about the big reveal?
It was pretty pathetic.
It was very pathetic, not pretty pathetic. We waited 6 months for them to say, well, yeah, one of them was a weather balloon, but the rest we don't know. That's pretty much the sum total of the entire report.
Yeah, it was. It was really, really pathetic.
And it was insulting.
Yeah.
It was insulting to the intelligence of hundreds of thousands of people who are ready to say, no, I really want to know what my tax dollars have been paying for, guys. Fair question. So
right.
Our Star Nation friends, the Pnti and the other Star Nations, are frustrated because the powers that be that are out in space now do not regard telepathic contact as valid. If
right.
I'm a pilot of a ship out there and I have an extraterrestrial pilot contact me while I'm flying to say, stand down, we're friendly, do you think they're going to listen?
Right.
I think we're still in the category of shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
Wild West type thinking.
Yeah.
And that's their concern as well. Not all the Star Nations that visit us are hugely, vastly technologically superior. Some of them are just a little bit beyond what we have. And others have been exploring out in space for millions of years. So it varies. They're not all at the same stage of technological advancement. So are some of the guys that are just a little bit more advanced than we are susceptible if we shoot at them? Well, of course they are. And the last thing anybody wants is an official first contact that's connected with a death. But what we don't know is, our Pnti friends going to come essentially go into your house, Kat, and say, tell you what, would you do us a favor and call all the television stations and have them come over right now? We have some people that we would like them to meet. Tell them to bring their cameras and their audio equipment. There should be 8 of us. What would you do it? Would you think, I got to make this phone call? Or would you go, man, that was one crazy dream I had, and not follow through? That's what we don't know. And that's where, again, we go back to the close encounters of the third kind. Many of us contactees, I suspect, will be receiving instructions via downloads.
I
And
love that.
we don't know what it's going to be yet. So what I suggest is all of us keep talking about those unusual kinds of things that we receive amongst each other, so that if I get a download and my download says, okay, I don't know why, but I got to go to Wyoming.
Mhm.
And your download says, okay, I don't know why, but I got to go to Wyoming too. Then I think we better talk and make a decision as to when we're going. It's that kind of sharing of information that I think is going to be very helpful. And I'm really glad that you're interviewing various other contactees and experiencers so
Mhm.
that you hear these firsthand stories from them. And we've got to keep asking.
Yeah, and I think that's where these communities are so vital in co-creating these communities. And I really would encourage people to get connected with Sue on Facebook or Twitter, just so that way it's a safe place to have those conversations.
Right.
It's so safe, it's so normal, it's so welcome. So I really encourage you to do that. We have like 2 minutes left before we're at the top of the hour. Do you have any other final things, Miss Linda? Because I want to make sure that your voice was heard today.
I think that I got all of the questions. If I missed any, I'm so sorry. I've been trying to keep up with them. And we have such a great conversation going on the side. I love the amount of discussion that we have in our group today. Thank you, everyone,
Thank you,
for
everyone.
being such a critical part to this. Join us in our Facebook group if you haven't already.
Yeah.
And definitely join Sue's Facebook group. Love you guys. There's a lot of discussion. Oh, yes. Sue, will you one more time for people who are new mention your book and I just saw your trailer coming up.
Okay.
So
All right.
will you talk about those?
Oh, there's a couple of things that you can go to for information and resources that are free. The website that the Pnti have is officialfirstcontact.com. I have, if you look up my YouTube channel, I have information and portraits of the Pnti and other information about both the Pnti and the Sasquatch, and a science that they started teaching us about that hasn't been used on this planet before, or at least not in this age of man, called archaeoplanetography. And so that was taught to us initially by Tilkum, and we've had other instructors since. So you can check that out. But the Facebook page is Sandia Mountain Pnti,
Yep.
Friends of Sandia Mountain Pnti, maybe.
It's in our links. It's in our
Yeah.
links.
And then the Twitter channel where you can talk to the Pnti live in person is at Sandia Wisdom, or you can look up Sandia the ET on Twitter, and both will take you there. They've been sharing a lot more lately and are asking for help sharing on other social media platforms. So the things that they tweet out, they're asking for people to share on some of the other platforms so that their information gets spread wider that way. But they're willing to answer all kinds of questions. And so ask and get a chance to talk to dozens and dozens of other contactees who have, some of them provided evidence back on the evidence page of officialfirstcontact.com about their visits, from audio to video to still shots, you name it, it's on there. So I would recommend that people who think that this is a LARP, who think that Otter and I are making all this up, to talk to the other contactees and visit the evidence page. If the Pnti were not real, we would not have video from France, from Florida, from Canada, from Australia, okay? And we do. So they've made an unprecedented move of introducing themselves to us to help facilitate the ease and flow of everybody meeting everybody else in official first contact. They'd like to make friends with you. if you're interested. But that, being able to talk to them, our first suggestion would be to download your free Telepathy 101 primer and read what they've instructed us to do. And if you'd like more than that, Otter and I put out a book called Inviting ET, and is a step-by-step guide to when you want to invite a star nation to come see you. How do you do that? What do you need to know? What precautions do you need to take? And so that's what Inviting ET is all about. It's a how-to manual. Whether you're by yourself or with 150 people, how do you invite ET to come visit? So thank you guys for having me on. I know we've hit our 2 hour
Yeah,
real fast. Oh my God.
I know. That's just the thing with you, Sue. It always goes up and so quickly. So yeah, I do want to make sure I thank everybody. So of course, thank you, Miss Linda. Thank you, Miss Jillian. I'm always so grateful that you are part of this experience and that you're here with us, sharing your beauty, warmth, insight, and compassion. Thank you to our live streamers. And again, we have all of our just our links down in the description box below. And yeah, and thank you, Miss Sue. We absolutely love having you. I just adore you, and I absolutely will be talking to you. I will be in your home soon. I'm going to find my way to your home soon.
Figure it out. We'll figure it out. But thank you for having me on. And again, if you are an experiencer or a contactee, or you want to be one, this is the place that the things are happening, at least in the English-speaking world of North America. If you want to participate, it doesn't cost you a thing, just some time.
That's right. It's only going to be upgrades. Right. All right. Thank you, everyone. We love you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. We'll talk again. Have a good one, and go watch the skies. Wear your day with ease.
Aw.
Bye, guys.
I love